Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we're taking a look at Transformers Studio Series number 22, Deluxe Class Dropkick from the new movie Transformers Bumblebee. Haven't seen the movie yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. Comes out actually tomorrow at the time of this recording, so very excited to check that out. Very excited to get a figure from the movie as well. Although I will say he's looking a little small in the box here, kind of have a Jazz syndrome going on, where I'm still thinking it's going to be a cool figure, but at this $20 price point, when the figures are very small in the box, makes me a little wary. But we have some pretty cool artwork over here. Close up of that artwork on the side. Then we have kind of a zoom out of the artwork on this side. Top and bottom, not too exciting. Taking a look on the back, we have Dropkick in the helicopter mode. Now, I believe he's a triple changer. In the movie, he also has a car mode, but they've been doing that for a little bit now. I think Drift was the same way back with Age of Extinction, where they did one figure in this alt mode, then they do another figure in the other alt mode as a way to make you buy two toys instead of just selling you a triple changer. Kind of a genius marketing ploy by Hasbro, but what are you going to do? Here is some of the other figures in the line I've already reviewed, 17 and 18. Gonna pass on 23, probably the KSI Sentry. It's just kind of a blue retool of Stinger. Mostly a repaint, maybe a slight head retool of Stinger, and I already have Stinger, so you know, don't really need him. Probably going to pass on him, but I was definitely intrigued by Dropkick here. Looking very cool. Let's get him out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. So here's a quick look with the figure with the kind of diorama base they give you in the box with these. I always think it's kind of neat with the Studio Series. They include these little backdrops, which looks kind of neat. If you had the room to display it, I personally don't, but if you did have the room to display with these backdrops, I think it looks really neat. This one has kind of an aerial dogfight thing going on in the background, which makes sense for a helicopter. Probably wouldn't stand in the middle of that, but it still looks neat in the background, so just wanted to give you a quick little look at that. Alright, so here's Dropkick out of the packaging. I like the robot mode. It's definitely kind of thin and spindly, but I don't know, it kind of works. I just like the look of it. Has the two big blades here on the back, which kind of looks neat, kind of reminds me almost like of a cape, which is kind of cool, but if you really wanted, you could swing them around. And if you like the kind of blades up in the air like that, you can also do that. Gives them quite a bit of height, though, I will say. They're really tall blades. Having them down here doesn't really get in the way of leg articulation all that much, and you can actually kind of tilt them out by this thing on the top here. So that makes them a little bit less in the way, which is nice. And they do come to a logical stopping point where they don't want to go any farther, so that's nice as well. Taking a look at the head sculpt. Kind of neat. I kind of can't see the eyes. I think the eyes are this blue area here. I'm not 100% on that. Maybe it's the two black slits. I really can't tell. But there's a lot of nice silver paint on the face. It's kind of tiny, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on there. But again, nice silver paint. I don't mind it. I like it. Just not as intricate as maybe it could be. But overall, I like the color scheme. The light gray with the blue, the black, and the silver works. I think that's pretty neat. Articulation, head can move from side to side. I guess it's on a ball joint technically. It has a very tiny little bit of up and down, and it has some side to side, as you can see. So yeah, I guess it is a ball joint. In the packaging, the shoulders are like this, which if you wanted to, you could leave them like that, but then in the directions it has them out to the side like this. And because the thinner side is now, this side is thinner instead of it being like this, it greatly improves the shoulder articulation. You can move this around so much easier with it facing front like that. So nice ball joint there in the shoulder. You have a bicep swivel right there. This part's a little goofy to me, the way they have a kind of accordion into the forearm here. This thing is always moving around, and it's just, I wish there was a better way for that to peg in. Not a huge problem, but just kind of a bummer in general. The two guns can be held in the two hands, as you can see here. Very simply, just peg in. You do have elbow articulation, nothing in the wrists because of how they transform, and we'll see that a little bit later. These things are also always moving around because they're just on kind of a loose ball joint. Not a huge problem, again, but they just kind of flop around a bit. ball joint, I believe. Now this is where I have to see how just naturally holding it, I want to push it in. I need to make sure that this is popped all the way out. I'm actually, just for the time being, going to move them up so I can just show you the rest of the robot mode articulation here. And you do have an out to the side as well for the shoulders there. You have a ball joint in the hip. You have, of course, a thigh swivel way over 90 degrees in the knee. And then not really anything in the ankle because of how it transforms. So they kind of put them on an angle so that you can get a wide stance from the legs. And then it'll sit flat, which is kind of nice. So I do like the look of him. He's just a little weird to get in a good pose, if that makes sense. And I do feel like these get in the way a little bit. Not so much of articulation, just it's very easy to kind of push them into the body and then they're in the way, so you have to make sure that's pushed all the way out. But overall, I do like the look of the robot mode. I just wish these arm things were handled a little bit better. I don't mind the accordion nature, but you can see they don't even really go like all the way flush. So I just feel like I wish there was something a little better with them. But overall, I do think he looks pretty cool. He's got a crazy interesting transformation, so let's go ahead and check that out. Alright, so I'm going to do my best to demonstrate how this works. The first thing you can do is go ahead and unaccordion those forearm pieces, and that's just going to form a complete like back tail of the helicopter. So straighten out the arm, flip all these out. Then you're going to open up the cockpit, which is the chest plate right there, and kind of lift this over the head, just so you can see these sections here. And these are going to fold down like this. And these things, again, are always flopping around. But so this gray piece here is going to fold down. And then this whole section will lift out to the side. Because you can see that there's kind of a tiny hook, and they were kind of hooking into the side here to kind of keep the chest tight together. So once you have that all out to the side, you can just kind of move this stuff around. These blue pieces will fold down, and then you can just kind of move this, straighten this out, and raise this up over the head of the robot. So straighten this, fold these down. And then you're going to bring them together. Now, they're supposed to peg together, and there's several spots for them to do so. Let me zoom in here. So you can see there's a peg there, kind of a peg here and here. There's even pegs there. Mine does not want to stay together all that well. It's kind of a bummer, and I hope it's not all of them. And like this section pegs together decently, but back here it really does not. And I don't know why that is. But you can see it's constantly popping out. So we'll see. I don't know. It's staying a little bit better for the time being. Luckily, there will be a combination to shore up this area later. And that will help with this. But just be aware, on its own, it doesn't really peg together all that well. But anyway, that is the tail of the helicopter. You're going to bring the legs down. This whole section, you kind of want to make sure this is out of the way. Right here will spin 180 degrees. And just make sure you're careful of the legs when you're trying to get clearance to spin this around. So there you go. Then you can completely just bring up the rest of the canopy, and that's the whole front part of the helicopter. So you have this part back here like this. You're going to come down to the legs. Legs are going to do some crazy things. First, you're going to spin them at the thigh swivel 180 degrees. And do that for both. Then, you're going to flip out these wings. Flip out what will be these kind of landing pad pieces. And then this whole blue piece here will swivel around 180 degrees. Like that. And you'll see how the blue kind of completes into that area now, which is kind of cool. So do the same over here. flip that out, flip this back, swivel this around 180 degrees. Then you're going to come on the inside and flip out the front part of the helicopter, just like that. There's a Gatling gun inside this one that will flip out. Then you straighten it out here. Let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. Straighten it out here, and then this will fold up like this. So do that on both sides. And then you will rock it back into this cavity here. So kind of push it in. And of course now this thing is going all crazy on me. And basically what were the thighs in the robot mode and the hips are going to collapse in like that. So now you have to close this all in on this tail piece. And it can be a little difficult if nothing wants to cooperate, but it shouldn't be too bad. And then you can push this down to peg this all in together. And then just kind of really just combine everything, shore it up, and get it to all peg together. Now again, this tail is really not cooperating. Sometimes it combines together better than other times. I don't really know why. You can go ahead and click the blade together. And then this will just kind of rotate around. Oh, I should have done this first. This will just kind of sit down then. And it kind of pegs against, but not 100%. I guess actually this tab here does peg into that there, so. And there you have that. Make sure it's all together. And here is the super thin little helicopter mode that you're left with. And that's kind of what really drew me to this figure. Just the engineering involved to take that robot mode and make this super thin little helicopter. And it's just really neat to me. I love the Gatling gun on the front too. Now, unfortunately, because the tail's so long, it doesn't really like stand correctly on these. Maybe if I distribute the weight. No, still kind of just falls back on the tail. That's kind of a bummer. You can take the two guns from earlier and you'll see that they just kind of rotate in on themselves. And it's kind of cool because there's a Gatling gun here, but then when you rotate it in, there's another Gatling gun inside. And then you just peg these underneath. There you go. Maybe with that extra weight. Nope, still falls back. But it's a very cool little helicopter. I love the pirate flag on the side. It's a really nice paint detail. And there's a lot of other nice details on here as well. But it's a really neat robot mode. I'm sorry, vehicle mode. Just because of how like crazy tiny and compact it transforms into. Again, doesn't stay together the best. And I'm hoping that's just mine and it's not a constant flaw. And I probably don't have everything, you know, transformed 100% completely, but this is what it's supposed to do. So very, very neat little helicopter mode. So I do like Dropkick. I definitely think he has a few issues, but he's still a good figure. Not perfect, but still good. I will say that trying to flip out these black pieces once you flip them in from the guns is actually incredibly difficult. At least definitely more difficult than it should be. So be a little wary about that. I do like the robot mode. I think these things flopping around is a little bit of a bummer. I kind of wish they were like a little bit tighter joints or just pegged in somewhere. The blades on the back are not a huge problem. They do hinder movement a little bit, and it's a little bit difficult to pick the figure up because they're constantly bending forward toward the figure. I kind of wish they bent the opposite way so that you weren't constantly like smushing them against the back of the figure, for lack of a better term. Head sculpt's pretty good, not amazing. And I do think the way he doesn't hold together fantastically in the helicopter mode is a bit of a problem, but again, not things you couldn't overlook. I definitely think there's a fun figure here. Just be a little bit wary if you decide to pick him up that he's not perfect. And I also don't love the way the tail of the helicopter compresses into the arms. It's decent, it's just not great. So I would say overall Dropkick, you know, if I'm on like a 5-point scale, maybe he's a 4, 3.5, something like that. Not terrible, not amazing, but I think there's fun to be had here, and I would still probably pick them up if you're interested. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.